Yes, everybody, welcome back to a brand new match preview here on Talking Wolves, as we're going to be going to Stamford Bridge this weekend to take on Graham Potter's Chelsea side. As always, guys, hope you are keeping well and safe. And let me know your thoughts ahead of this game in the comments section down below. Of course, it's going to be a really intriguing game this weekend because Wolves are without a head coach, a permanent head coach at least. We're going to be seeing Steve Davis and James Collins, who are the under-18s and under-21s managers, take charge on Saturday. They've been taking training this week since the departure of Bruno Lage on Sunday. Of course, we've given our thoughts on that. We've done a couple of videos. We've done a podcast as well. People agreeing, people disagreeing with what we say. Football's all about opinions, guys, as you know. So I can understand why people are frustrated with what's going on at Wolves at the moment. But of course, it's now time for a new chapter. And hopefully we start seeing some more goals at Molineux, some more exciting football. And fingers crossed, a new head coach is announced before next weekend's game against Nottingham Forest. But all focus is on this weekend's game against Chelsea. Of course, we recently lost out to West Ham United, which did see one or two players come off injured. We saw Pedro Neto. It doesn't look good for him, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more clarification on that on Friday in the pre-match press conference. Matheus Nunes came off with a little knock as well during that game. We hope that he's okay. But one of the positives from that was that Diego Costa did come on and did look like a real bright spark when he came on for Wolves. Whether he's still ready to start as of yet, we're still not sure, but I think he's going to be a real asset to Wolves and to whoever comes on as the new permanent head coach, which fingers crossed should be announced very, very soon. Of course, Chelsea have had their own busy season, I suppose. Started off and went through pre-season and the transfer window with Thomas Tuchel. Now he's gone and they've got Graham Potter in, who came in from Brighton, who started the season off so brightly. And he's done okay. It took him a few games to bed in, but it was a really positive win for them in the Champions League on Wednesday as well. So they're going to be up for this game. They've got players coming back from injury as well. We know they've got a strong squad with quality all over the pitch. So it's, of course, going to be an extremely tricky game for Wolves. Let's jump into my predicted lineup now. Of course, it's going to be quite hard to say how James Collins and Steve Davis are going to approach this game and how they're going to start this Wolves team. But you would assume it'll be a similar sort of setup to what we've seen so far under Bruno Lage. And you would hope it would see somebody else come into that centre-back position. So I've gone with Jose Sarr in goal. Stuck with Ryan Aït-Nouri at left back. I've gone with Semedo at right back. Of course, it's so hard to predict those full back positions right now. And I have put Totti Gomez in alongside Max Kilman. But of course, that could all change. Let's stick with a midfield three of Ruben Neves. Push him, please, back into midfield with João Moutinho and Matheus Nunes. Look, Neves did an okay job at centre-half, but he's completely wasted there, isn't he? And then on the left side, well, if Neto's injured, I think you probably will go with Guedes, Podence, and maybe Diego Costa up front. But we could all, if Costa's not ready, we could always see Guedes through the middle and stick in a Dharma Traore on the right hand side. So obviously still plenty of options for Wolves to go with, and it's obviously going to be quite intriguing to see how James Collins and Steve Davis approach this game. And hopefully we see Wolves score some goals. If you remember, last season at Stamford Bridge, it was a late comeback, and Tony Roberts was actually in charge for that game. He's still at the club currently. Bruno Lage was absent. He had COVID-19 when we played them last time at Stamford Bridge. So let's see if the caretaker managers can do a job again. But as always, guys, we've also got the BetMate Pot 4 this weekend, and it is a must join because it is free to join as well. If you haven't already joined BetMate, you can do so using the link in the top of the description. Use the code TW5 at sign up, and when you put a £5 bet in for one of the other paid games, you'll get a £5 bonus as well. But this one is free to join, as you can see on the screen right now. In terms of my team, I have gone very, very Chelsea heavy, of course. You could change your team right up until 5 minutes to kick off. I've gone with Jose Sarr in goal, Thiago Silva and Reece James at the back, with Kovacic and Matheus Nunes in the middle, and Aubameyang and Sterling as my front two. But things can change, obviously, depending on the team. Or maybe we see Diego Costa come in against his old team. You possibly back him to grab a goal at Stamford Bridge. Who knows? But now let's move on to the opposition preview to find out more about this weekend's opponents. So delighted to be alongside Semmy from Chessy, our Chelsea fan. Semmy, it's been a busy, crazy season so far for Chelsea. Lots of changes. Let's talk about the big one, though. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel had pre-season with Chelsea, started the season. It's quite a surprise, obviously, to see him let go so early in the season. A lot of Chelsea fans that I saw were disappointed with the move. What was your thoughts on that, and sort of how are you feeling now that dust has settled a little bit more on that?
So yeah, initially I was very, very disappointed, like much of the fan base, just simply because obviously Tuchel was one of my guys. I really, really liked him. I thought he was, in terms of a manager that can get the most out of squad in big games, prepare you tactically for big games. I thought he was an expert in that area. And considering that, he was given 250 million to spend in the summer, that's by his own, to get his own guys, his own players in. It was a surprise. It was a surprise to see him sacked, and I was very, very upset. But when the dust settled, I kind of started to understand the reasonings behind it, just simply because, in any work environment, you have to be able to work with, your bosses and people above you and stuff like that. And also, once you lose the dressing room in football, it's done. It's over for me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any recovering once you lose that dressing room, and I feel like that's what was happening. There's reports of like players who were known that Tuchel knew that wanted to leave, and he had like separate meetings with some people, some of the players that wanted to leave and some that wanted to fight for their place, and almost there was like a kind of divide in the dressing room whereby there was no unity. So once that happens and you lose the players, especially the attacking players who weren't really flourishing on the Tuchel, I don't think there's any really recovering from that, because they're not going to be able to fight for you on the pitch. They're not going to be mentally involved in games. And I think the most baffling thing is that there were some players who he kind of made clear to them that, you might not kind of have a future or whatever, but he was still kind of playing them, which was a bit confusing. So yeah, like once you damage the relationship with players, essentially it's very, very hard to recover. So ultimately, if the board want a new guy to, spearhead their projects, then I think they've got every kind of right to kind of to choose that new guy. And if they felt that Tuchel wasn't the guy that they were going to get along with, then it's fair enough, I guess. So yeah.
I think we've had a similar thing, obviously, with this week sacking Bruno Lage, and I think obviously the results weren't great for us. Completely sort of different thing to Chelsea, but he definitely lost the dressing room, and we spoke about it a little bit on our podcast this week. That there were no social media posts from players wishing him well. We've had Daniel Podence today speak to Sky Sports saying how they knew they needed a change. So I think you're right there straight away. And obviously the man, Chelsea jumped on it quite quickly. The man they got in to replace Tuchel was Graham Potter, who hasn't got much sort of top Champions League type experience. So some could say it's a little bit of a risk, but I think we all know he's a talented manager. What are your thoughts on him so far?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think I was a big fan of his Brighton team. I think I went watching them watching Brighton under Graham Potter was quite enjoyable. They would create a lot of chances, like a lot of chances. They wouldn't always finish the chances, wouldn't always be clinical, but it was a team that you could see was well drilled, well coached in, creating chances and putting the opposition under pressure. One thing I will say is that, Chelsea is a different ballgame in the sense that there will be certain challenges that he wouldn't have faced at Brighton. So, for example, teams won't necessarily have played against Brighton in a low block, whereas teams are going to play against Chelsea in a low block. So he's going to have to find the answer to that. But overall, he's a very talented coach. I think he's got enough experience personally to kind of make that step up. And I think he's shown in the Premier League over the past few years that he's been at Brighton that, he's ready for that, in my opinion. So yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. It's definitely going to take time, and it's going to be some rough periods, as they were for Brighton. People forget that Brighton had a lot of rough periods when Graham Potter was the manager. The results weren't always the best for them, even though they played great stuff and they created abundance of chances. But I think overall, if he's given enough time, which the board seem like have said that they're going to do, I think he can get it right eventually. But I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. With Brighton, he created a lot of chances. I think he got a team that probably weren't on paper the best players in the world. He got them playing an attractive style. So I remember during sort of the Project Restart and over COVID, like the obviously being able to watch them a little bit more. Their XG like was phenomenal compared to actually them scoring goals. And I suppose, you know, going from someone like Neil Maupay to someone like Havertz and Aubameyang, it might give him a step up to perform a little bit better.
And also, when you think about, you know, a team like Brighton don't have the biggest budget in the league, you know, and for him to be able to kind of implement a style with limited, you know, resources. I know Brighton sell a lot of players and gain money that way, but he's not at Brighton. You're not going to get like 250 mil spent every single summer. Do you understand what I'm saying? The same way you're going to get at Chelsea. So with like an abundance of resources at a bigger club, logistically speaking, you think that the two can come together and, you know, can help him with that step up, and he can form a really, really good team at the top level. So yeah, it was exciting times, I think, and we'll wait and see. But I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more attractive football, because as much as I like Tuchel, his football wasn't the most entertaining. So yeah,
I'm hoping the same for Wolves when we bring a new manager in as well. Lage at times was, you know, we didn't see many goals at all. We've only scored 3 goals so far this season. We're talking about Brighton. Obviously, Chelsea just 1 point behind them at the minute, but still in a very favourable position. You know, still in and amongst the top 4 sort of race at the moment. Pick of the game so far for you this season? You know, are there any performances that really stand out for you from the start of the season to now?
You mean from a Chelsea perspective?
Yeah, for Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Tottenham performance was really good. There's not that many, to be honest, because it's been a stop-start, up and downs, inconsistent start to the season. But the Tottenham one definitely stands out. I think the last Champions League game against Dinamo Zagreb, even though we didn't win, was a good performance too. To be honest, I'd probably say those two. To be honest, it hasn't been in the league. We haven't been good. So I'm hoping we can kind of kick on from this week, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember actually watching that Spurs game. I'm still unsure how you didn't get three points from that match. It was, and obviously the whole Tuchel and Conte thing on the side as well added a little bit of drama to that. Quickly touching on Potter as well. I think your most recent game was a win against Palace, was it? In your mind, good, positive performance, or it still need signs of improvements? Is it early days still with Potter?
Still need signs of improvement, still early days, but the result was a positive because, you know, the team, like I said, it's been an inconsistent start, and I think the team needs confidence, and I think they're only going to get confidence by getting wins. And I think it's wins like that kind of build a foundation and slowly start to build confidence in, you know, the team and Potter. But yeah, still very much early days in the sense that Potter, it's a massive squad, and Potter's still kind of finding out about the team, who he favours, who doesn't favour, what system is going to work, because he's played 2 different systems in his first 2 games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight and what happens on Saturday, when we play you guys. So yeah, still very much early days. The performance wasn't amazing. There was good parts, I'd say, in the first half. Mm-hmm. Some positives to take from the first half, but second half wasn't good. But to be honest, the most important thing, especially coming off the back of the international break, where it's been like stop and start due to various other reasons as well, the most important thing was the 3 points, and that's what we got. So yeah, hopefully we can kick on.
Yeah, as a top team, even if you don't perform well, you just got to make sure you get out there with 3 points. And, you know, for great, obviously for Gallagher as well to score. I know it was against sort of his former loan club Palace as well. And, I know you mentioned there Potter sort of deployed 2 systems so far. So what sort of formations has he put in place in the game so far?
So in his first game against Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League, he played the standard 3-5-2. Actually, it was 3-5-2. He had Sterling kind of playing in like a wing back role, but he was mainly very, very high up the pitch. So basically like a touchline winger, which was interesting. And he had 3 midfielders in there with Mount, Kovacic and Jorginho, I believe it was. And Reece James, standard right wing back. And up top, I think, was Havertz and Aubameyang. So 3-5-2, which is not too dissimilar to what Tuchel was kind of playing, give or take, with 1 more midfielder inside. And then on Saturday against Palace, he played a 4-2-2/4-3-3. It was a bit of debate going back and forth for Chelsea fans, but it looked like a 4-2-2. Mm-hmm. So I think Potter's carried on that flexibility that he had at Brighton, where he kind of goes between a 4 and a 3. And even in the first game against Dinamo Zagreb, there were times where in the game it could slip into a back four. So I think he's got a lot of tactical flexibility that he's going to try and implement, especially in the early days when he's still finding out about the players. So yeah, those were the two systems that he's used so far.
Yeah, and in terms of players, I mean, Chelsea have got quality players all throughout the team. But for you, which players have stood out so far? Which players should Wolves be looking out for on Saturday?
I would say Reece James for sure. I would also say not many. It's not many performers. So I'd say Sterling. I'd probably say Sterling.
Yeah, I like Sterling. Always seems to score against Wolves. I do like
really?
Sterling watching plays. Yeah, it's a good sign for you guys.
Yeah, I think Sterling's had a good start to his Chelsea career. I also think potentially Aubameyang, seeing as he's got his first goal now against Palace. I think he can probably build on from that. Probably give him confidence to build on potentially. But outside those three, I can't really say too many. You know, the team, like I said, it's a team that needs a little bit of like a picking up kind of. You know,
a bit more confidence.
It's not been a great start to the season. I think they're still like slowly feeling their way into it. But I'd say in those three for sure, especially James and Sterling. I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, Reece James almost not taking over, but a similar sort of thing to Trent at Liverpool, and the fact that, you know, it's so good when you've got a player, a more defensive player, you would say, that's still adding goals and assists to the team. I think he's really kicked on. Seems like he's been around for a while, but he's still, he's only like 21, 22 or something like this now. So, yeah. So just seems like he's been around for years. So it's really good that, you know, a young player stepping up. Are there any injury issues for Chelsea? And those players like N'Golo Kante have been out injured. Is that still the case for Saturday?
He's actually back in training. I think Potter's going to ease him in though. So
yeah.
Saturday, I'm not too sure. Mendy just came back to training as well. I think that's it. Jorginho and Kai Havertz are out for tonight, so I don't know if they'll make it on Saturday, but that they could potentially miss the game if it's serious. So those. So Kante and Mendy are back in training, so should be back in the squad. But Kai and Jorginho are out tonight, so they could potentially miss Saturday.
No problem. And if I had to trouble you for a score prediction for Saturday, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
Yeah. No, Wolves haven't actually got a manager. I don't think we would have appointed a manager by Saturday. So obviously we're sort of entering the unknown. We don't know what to expect. And I'm sure for Graham Potter as well and his staff, they're probably unsure how we're going to set up because we don't have a clue either. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult game for Wolves. Semmy, thank you very much for joining me on Talking Wolves. And yeah, all the best for Saturday.
No worries. You too, man. Good luck.
So big thanks to Semmy. You can find a link to his Twitter and the Chessy Hour group in the description down below. As always, guys, do let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below ahead of this game. Can Wolves pull off a shock victory? Will we have a head coach named before the game as well? Let's wait and see. As always, guys, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Enjoy your weekend, guys, and I'll see you all very, very soon.